Mike, let's take a look at the coaching searches that remain ongoing. There was a report from Elliot Friedman at Sportsnet that Pete DeBoer is going to be the next head coach of the Dallas Stars. I had heard rumblings about that before the weekend, actually on Friday. To my knowledge at this point, Mike, Pete DeBoer does not have pen to paper on a contract with the Dallas Stars, although certainly do think that Elliot Friedman is on the right path and that that will eventually happen. So it seems like that would be one deal that is coming down the pike. We talked last week about John Tortorella. Jay Woodcroft also closing in on an extension to remain head coach of the Edmonton Oilers. They went back and forth on term. I think Woodcroft was looking for a 4-year deal. They ended up settling on a 3-year deal. And that leaves a bunch of interesting coaching vacancies still out there. You've got the Detroit Red Wings, the Winnipeg Jets, the Florida Panthers, the Chicago Blackhawks, and the Boston Bruins. And for me, I've focused a lot on the Florida Panthers in the last few days. Their coaching search has been fascinating. I reported on Friday some of the names that have been out there previously, and you can add another one to the mix. That is Jukka Jalonen. He's been the Finnish national coach since 2008. There certainly seems to be some interest there from the Florida Panthers, and their GM, Bill Zito, has a ton of connections in Finland. One of his clients, or former clients, when he was an agent, Tuomo Ruutu, was the only assistant coach that was retained in Florida after they fired their assistant coaches last week. So starting to put a little bit of the puzzle together, not saying Jalonen is going to be the guy, but given how few European-born coaches there have been in the NHL, this would be a really interesting step to take for the Florida Panthers, who are a team that seems to be knocking on the door of being one of those true Stanley Cup contenders again next season.
Yeah, I'm pretty fascinated by Florida as well, and thinking outside the box here and potentially looking to Finland is definitely doing that. And you almost start to wonder, does Andrew Brunette want to be the head coach still? It's almost my first question, but I have no idea what's going to happen in Florida. Obviously, with all these names floating around, I think it's still kind of a wild card, but it is interesting to see Pete DeBoer. Looks like he will be headed to Dallas if that's what ends up holding true. And, you think about a team there that Frank's just been, they haven't been consistent for the last couple of years. They've been really streaky. They've had peaks and valleys. If that's the case with DeBoer, you'll see a reunion with Joe Pavelski. And, DeBoer's a guy whose structure is really good. He loves to play an up-tempo style with the D involved. So if that's the case, I think Miro Heiskanen right away would love to play for DeBoer. And you think about Suter, Lindell, can they keep up with the pace of play? So there's young prospects in Dallas that are probably knocking on the door. And I think that if DeBoer's the guy there, he's going to be able to push them. We're going to need to push them to play with some pace and find some consistency in that locker room.
Yeah, it's getting close to crunch time, Mike. We're just a few weeks away from the NHL draft, free agency, just a week beyond that. Teams love to have their coaches in line by now so that they can begin developing a plan in lockstep with their head coach as well for that style of play heading into next season.